Ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully not toddlers, welcome to the THICCDAD Podcast. Once again, as always, thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening. Every week we have more and more listeners, which is very exciting. I can't even listen to these episodes in full when I'm editing them. It's like being trapped in an apartment, except instead of an apartment, it's my own brain. So thank you again. Anyone who's rating the show, sharing it, listening to it, downloading it, I really appreciate it. It's fun to get to talk to you guys in a longer format and not dressed like a toddler or a baby. What do we have going on? I ate 2 quesadillas for lunch, which is far too many. The amount of cheese in my body right now is astounding. I'm going to have Olympic level diarrhea later, so stay tuned for that. How are things going? What is going on? I came to a profound parenting realization the other day. There's an account I follow on Instagram called Dads Who Try, and they posted something about how you want to be friends with your kids when they're young, but you have to be sort of that disciplinarian, that authority figure, that parent figure. And when you get older, you get to become sort of that friend level with your kids. When they're teenagers or older or full-grown adults, you get to become friends with them. And it really got me thinking because my father passed away when I was, imagine having a serious moment and you say the wrong word. Can't even say the word passed. Jeez. All right. My father passed away when I was 19. So I never got to really live that being a friend stage with my dad. So, because I have a tough time disciplining my son, I'll be honest with you. When it comes down to push or shove or push harder, shove harder, I have a difficult time disciplining my son because I want to be friends with him, right? I want him to be my best buddy. We have matching vests now. How could you not want to be friends with a little guy who kind of looks like you and now has a matching vest? So I struggle with disciplining my son because I never got to that being a friend stage with my dad. I'm trying to live that with my son. And I came to this realization kind of on my own, and I was proud of myself in a weird way, and I was like, wow, that might be the most profound thought I've ever had. And then I told a coworker about this realization, and she goes, oh yeah, my husband has that too. And I was like, oh, okay. Thanks, Michelle. Crapping all over my parade. I thought I was about to write like a self-help book with all of this profound knowledge I had come to, and it turns out that other people have that thought too, which is a lot of parenting moments. Sometimes I think I've come up with a cure for something, or I've come up with an extremely profound thought, and then I post about it, and then 5,000 people are like, oh yeah, me too. So that's a fun way to start this off. I'm drinking Perrier right now because I'm French Canadian, and I'm also extremely fancy. Not really. I think my wife got these on sale on Amazon. Ordering food or drink from Amazon, kind of weird, right? I can only drink drinks now that come in an unmarked van dropped off on my porch by a sad guy in a high-vis vest. So what are we going to talk about today? Lots of things to discuss. I put out a poll on my Instagram recently, and I said, ask me questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, and I got a ton of responses, a lot of great questions, very few bad ones. My friend Derek Cahill, who can't be serious for a damn second, asked how thick is it, and that's not appropriate. It's average, so I'm not going to address that one at all. So let's get into some of the questions you guys had. Again, thank you so much for responding to that sticker. This is a fun sort of format that I haven't done yet on the pod. So how is potty training going? Very well right now. Now, much like anything in parenting that goes well, you don't ever want to talk about it, right? And the fact that I'm even addressing it now and saying it's going well is probably going to cause some sort of epic poo-related disaster in the next 48 hours. And that's honestly a little bit why I don't post too much about like the parenting wins or the positive moments, because when I put that out into the universe, there's immediately a regression and that those good moments go away. So I had someone message me the other day on Instagram, and they said that they had to unfollow me because I'm so negative about my children. Anyways, Sorry to see you go, Mom, but it's okay. So potty training is going well. The first 3 days were so hard. Day 4, which was his first day back at daycare, he had a bunch of accidents, and my wife and I were like, "Oh no, he must be so embarrassed," because he's a sensitive kid, and having accidents at school in a public place is never good. But he, after that, has done fantastic. He listens to his body. Again, we did the Big Little Feelings 3-day potty training course, where it's just about listening to your body, when you have to pee, when you have to poo, and then going on the potty. And he's had very few accidents, if any, since day 4. So fingers crossed that keeps going. I'm sure there'll be a regression at some point where I come downstairs and there's like a Hansel and Gretel lineup of poo dots on the floor, and then he's standing at the end of it, either horrified or proud or some sort of emotion. But so it's going well, and I highly recommend doing the Big Little Feelings course if you don't, if you're looking to potty train, if you have like an unruly teenager or maybe an elderly coworker, like a senior citizen coworker who needs to be re-potty trained. I work with a few of those. Big Little Feelings course might work for for seniors as well. I don't know. I haven't tried it. Hopefully no one has. How do you deal with your mental health? Gonna be honest, I have really bad days, and I feel like I'm good at hiding it and like being strong and bottling up my emotions. My last name is Champagne. How good I'm good at bottling things up on like an ancestral level. But my wife picks up on it instantly because she's not an idiot, and she'll be like, "What's wrong?" And I'll say nothing, and she'll go like, "You're an idiot. I know something's wrong." But I have really bad days sometimes, to be quite honest with you, and it's usually a combination of things where I feel overwhelmed. Maybe, I'm exhausted because one or both of my darling children aren't sleeping. That happens a lot. Maybe I'm stressed at work. Maybe I'm stressed about, content or things like that. Negative comments online, those can get to me sometimes as well. A combination of everything. Maybe I haven't been to the gym in a while because the babies aren't sleeping, and that affects my mental health too. So I really try to focus on, one or two things that I can control when I feel like I'm sort of spiraling. I had a creative spiral recently where I was just like, well, none of my videos are doing well, and I don't think I can come up with another funny idea ever again. Maybe this whole thing is over. My wife was like, "You're a dumbass," and she hit me with a wooden spoon. She's Portuguese, so it's sort of tradition. But I try to, either go for a run or get back into the gym as quickly as possible. And I try to stay off my phone too much because the phone gives me so much anxiety. I stop wearing my Apple Watch sometimes because it just, the constant notifications, I don't want to be that connected to the outside world. Sometimes all I need to correct my mental health is, hydrate myself, which sounds dumb. Every dad says that, "Have you had any water here, sweetie?" And, I'm sure moms get pissed off about that, but it does help. Go for a run or go to the gym, and then stay off my phone and try to eat right. There's just a couple things that you can do. Exercise is the big one for me, because when I start to not exercise, or I've gone a few days without it, I really start to feel it, and getting a good sweat in for me always helps. How did you decide on a second kid? My wife and I have always wanted multiple. We know a lot of only children who are huge assholes. Just kidding. But no, we've always wanted more than one. And my wife had some postpartum, fairly bad on some days after our son was born, and it took her a while to get it under control. She went on medication after 18 months, maybe, and then that's kind of when we started to realize, like, she was like, "Oh, I can feel better. I can connect. I can, manage motherhood, and maybe it is time for a second." So we I don't think we would have made the decision to have a second as quickly if she wasn't on the medications and getting her mental health in check. Honestly, it's I totally understand when people are like, "I'm one and done. I can't deal with this. The sleep deprivation, all that shit." Our son basically didn't sleep through the night until 20 months old, which again helped. We were like, "Oh, okay." So you start to get into this like routine of maybe things are good. You have like 2 good days in a row where everything goes well, and you're like, maybe we are ready for a second, which is insane. So, but we did make that decision. I don't think we're gonna go for a third. Sometimes my wife looks at me from across the room, and I'm like, are you trying to do what I think you're trying to do right now? And but we're definitely not gonna make a decision on that quite yet. But I'm good with 2 for now. We have a 2-year age gap. We have a boy and a girl, and things are going well. We're getting into a routine now, which is fantastic. So I think 2 is enough for now. Because again, once you're physically outnumbered, whoa. I mean, we're mentally outnumbered now, but physically outnumbered is a whole different ballgame. I already have enough issues with my nuts getting crushed, getting stomped on, getting pureed, okay? My son's ability to kick, headbutt, elbow me in the nuts is second to none. It's so impressive that he would never even make it a minute in the UFC because I think nut shots are illegal. He would be like the worst villain in UFC history if he did even one fight. So how do you manage sleep deprivation and being active? It is so hard because the only time that I can go to the gym is like 5 a.m. during the week because my kids are usually up. If they sleep well, they're usually up around 6. And I want to be home when my kids wake up, if at all possible. So the only time I can go is 5 a.m. And when the kids are not sleeping through the night, it's physically impossible to get up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. If my kids are up from like 2 to 4, there's just no chance it's happening. So I just skip that day. Maybe I'll try to go for a run at night once the kids are down. I very rarely exercise during the hours of my kids being awake, even though they exercise sometimes in the middle of the night. Oh, I'm going to do gymnastics. Oh, I'm going to do karate in my crib in the middle of the night. They exercise in the middle of the night. I cannot do that. So how do you keep the romance? I went through a tough roommate phase. My wife and I have been there. Especially when we found it the worst right basically after we had our second because, we got into a good routine with our first, which is why we decided to have a second. And then all of a sudden the second one comes along and you're like, oh crap, everything that we knew, everything we learned, everything that we smoothed out with our first is completely gone because we had a routine where we would tag team, the bedtime, the bath routine, get him in the thing, get him in pajamas, I would read him books, give him a bottle, and then, put him down. I would put him down to sleep while my wife tidied up the kitchen. Then we'd both go downstairs, finish up, and we'd have a couple hours to have a glass of wine, watch TV, scroll on our phones aimlessly and not actually talk to each other, which is sometimes all you need as a parent unit. So then the second came along and all of a sudden she's dealing with the baby. I'm dealing because she's breastfeeding and she's putting her down to sleep and I'm dealing with my son still. And then, 8:30, 9 o'clock comes around and the house is a mess. So we're trying to clean that up, do dishes, pack lunches, finish any food that needs to be cooked for the next day. And it's 10 p.m. by the time you're done that and you're so exhausted that you basically just want to go to bed. So we lost those hours of being able to watch TV and stuff. And it really did put us in a roommate phase, which is a tough thing to deal with. You have to set time aside, even if it was like, cuddling for a half hour after, even we were super tired, just cuddling for a half hour, trying to plan date nights. Our daycare does this thing now monthly, which is fantastic. We're going on one tonight. They, for money, in exchange for money, it is a business after all. In exchange for money, the daycare will take the children and any siblings after hours for a few hours so that the parents can go out for a date night. What a fantastic concept. So that has helped a lot because they're obviously great with kids. They know us very well. And it's exciting to be able to go out on date nights with my wife because, that is a great way to reconnect and just put the phones down, even though one of you has to have your phone kind of because like every time there's an alert, you're like, what catastrophic situation has one of our children been put into? But it's tough because, prioritizing even just a few minutes a day of, intimate connection, whether it's just like a hug in the kitchen sometimes is enough to set me on like, okay, we're good. Yes, it's been a tough week. We've, barely seen each other, it feels like. And you're like ships passing in the night and it helps to have those little moments of intimacy. Nighttime routine with 2. The nighttime routine with both of my kids right now, it's picture if a UFC fight was hosted at SeaWorld, okay? There's wet animals, which are the babies, there's kicking, there's splashing, It's a complete shit show. We used to bathe both of them together, my daughter in a little Frida baby tub, and then my son in the other side of the tub, and we would bathe them both together. And now my son has decided he only wants to bathe alone because he wants to like have a monster truck bath or like a bath with dinosaurs. So we have to do everything separately now. So when, we're trying to grab towels and this and that, and my son's throwing monster trucks and splashing, and it's a bit chaotic. There's always water everywhere, and but we've been working through that and getting into a bit of a routine. How is your wife doing? 3 kids is hard. We have 2, so this is a jab at me, calling me a kid. My wife's doing great. She's a great mom, and thankfully I'm not a third child. I know that a lot of people deal with a husband or a partner or a dad that's a third child. I'm hopefully very rarely like that. I am as involved as I possibly can be. Oftentimes I get home from work late and I'm playing with the kids in my work clothes still. I mean, they're Lululemon pants. They're nice. They have 4-way stretch fabric. They're breathable. It's not like I'm in a scuba suit, but it does help, I think, to be an involved dad. Don't be another kid for your wife to take care of, okay? That's my advice. If time flew backwards, weird way to say it, would you still have children? Yes, I love my kids very much. There's so many hard moments, but the good moments far outweigh the bad, even when you're in like a 3 to 4 day terrible window where it feels like there's a regression going on or there's tantrums or whatever it might be, and you feel like you're never going to get out of it. There's cute moments right around the corner, and they basically etch a sketch, shake it away, and wipe away the bad moments. How do you handle tantrums with me or my son? Tantrums are tough because my son is almost 3, so his tantrums can be epic to the point where it feels like we're never going to get out of the house. We try to talk to him calmly. We try to reason with him. We don't raise our voice. We don't yell because that's just going to make things worse. We try to center ourselves and control our own emotions, which is a very tough thing to do when your kids are freaking out, slamming on the ground, throwing things. We try to talk to him calmly. If none of that's working, we let him have his tantrum. We say, you know what, we're over here. If you need a hug, or if you want to hug one of your stuffed animals, it's right here. And we let him have his tantrum on the ground. And usually within 3 to 5 minutes, he calms himself down and he comes back and we can get on with our day. I don't know if that strategy works for other people or not, but that seems to work for us. Sometimes we just let him have his tantrum. Toddlers have almost unlimited energy. No one has enough energy to have a tantrum for hours. So we just usually let him have his tantrum if there's nothing we can do to calm him down. Obviously, sometimes you need to like hold him almost because he's trying to slam his head on the ground or kick his feet or he's near stairs or whatever. He's trying to slam into a baby gate. But generally we just sort of let him have his tantrum, and a few minutes later he sort of comes back and we can give him a hug and say, what do you want? Do you want to do this or this? Give him a choice, give him a little bit of power, and let him make an easy decision, and that usually works. Any sports your son is interested in? Violence against my nuts is not technically a sport. Gymnastics, I think, is something that we are considering putting him in. Gymnasts are easily some of the most fit people in the world. So it's definitely would be good exercise. Plus he loves to jump off of things constantly. He's always like jumping off of stairs. Daddy, watch me do this. Ooh, the big rock. And he's jumping off rocks. He's doing, one of my cousin's sons who's 4 taught him how to somersault. Not cool, dude. But he could easily be a gymnast. He's always walking on things, balancing on things, jumping off things. I think that would be a good release for him. And we definitely want to get him in martial arts at some point as well. I think that's good for teaching discipline. Also, his sister is going to be much bigger than him, and she is going to be able to kick the absolute shit out of him, probably by Christmas. I played hockey my whole life, and obviously I would love if he played hockey. Hockey is extremely expensive, extremely demanding, lots of BS politics that go on with it, which I'm sure is with a lot of children's sports, but I'm not going to live vicariously through my son if he, and force him into hockey or force him to live out a dream that I could never achieve. Like some Dr. Phil dad. If he doesn't want to play hockey, that's fine. I don't need to live vicariously through him. I play on a beer league team that plays on Wednesdays. And sometimes we have enough people for 2 lines. And sometimes we win. Not a lot. So I'm good with that. If you have different parenting styles, how do you deal with that? This is tough because, like I mentioned earlier, I sometimes have a very tough time disciplining my son. I want to be his friend because of this missing relationship that I never got to with my own dad. So my wife oftentimes will be the disciplinarian, and it's tough for me to like back her up because you have to be consistent. Because if they sense a weakness between you, God damn it, it's like a drop of blood in the water with a bull shark. They will sense the weak one and they will attack you and they will exploit you until they get what you want. So you have to maintain a something front. I don't know what the phrase is. United front. There we go. Thank God I thought of that quickly. I've had my coffee today. I'm feeling good. It's tough to sometimes maintain a united front because, again, I have some trouble disciplining my son, and I often come across as like the softer parent. I know you look at me and you're like, whoa, soft parent? You give off ex-Marine vibes. No, I do not. I'm French Canadian and I have incredibly soft ankles. I wouldn't even make it into like the lobby of like applying to be a Marine. I would trip on the carpet in the entrance and they'd be like, out. So, how did you overcome difficulty with your baby not taking a bottle? Just trying and trying and trying. Eventually she took it. It took weeks of me trying at least a couple times a day to give her a bottle until she finally got the hang of it. It sucks, but you have to push through because when they're hungry enough, they will eat. It's science. They know that they need to eat. And when it wasn't working or I was getting super frustrated or wasn't happening, my wife would take over and breastfeed and just say, hey, try again in a couple hours, try again tomorrow. But it did take a while to do it, and we managed to do it now. And she does take a bottle most times when we need her to. What surprised you the most about becoming a dad? As for my friend Kat, who is expecting her second and is having it very soon. So Kat and John, we wish you the best. We love you guys. What surprised me the most about becoming a dad, I think how soft I would be. Again, I thought I'm always sort of a guy who bottled my emotions up and didn't want to show emotion. The night my daughter was born, so this kind of flows into the second question after this, which was, how did you prepare for the arrival of your second with your first? So we didn't bring my son to the hospital to meet his baby sister. We decided that he was very attached to me at the time, and we had to stay an extra couple of days at the hospital with my daughter to make sure that everything was going smoothly with her. So my son would have had to leave and go home with someone that wasn't his parents, aka my stepmom. And we figured that he wouldn't like that at all. So what we did was I went home the 2 nights that we had to stay in the hospital. I picked up my son from daycare both nights, had dinner with him, put him to bed, and then my stepmom came from the hospital where she was staying with my wife, and we switched, and I went and stayed in the hospital with my wife and our newborn baby girl. The first night that I brought that we brought our daughter into the world, I went and picked up my son, and I was, obviously super sleep deprived, had maybe gotten 3 hours of sleep in the last day and a half because my daughter was born at 7 a.m., so this is 5 p.m. that day. Barely got to sleep in the hospital, and I pick up my son. We're having dinner together, and we're watching TV, and he's sitting in my lap, and I just started crying because I thought to myself, this kid had basically the perfect life. He had 2 loving parents. He got all the attention he wanted from either one whenever he wanted. He had a full backyard to himself, an entire basement to himself, and I go, this kid had the perfect life, and we just ruined it by bringing his baby sister into this world, and I could not stop crying. Was it emotions from being tired? Possibly, but I was so overwhelmed in that moment, and I did not expect that at all. Becoming a father of 2, I was like, we ruined this kid's perfect little life. And I just was whispering over and over again, sorry. And he was like, get off. I want to watch Lion King. Get off. So that was something that I absolutely did not expect. Because it's something that I'm sure other people deal with. You figure oh my God, I've brought something else into this world. Now our time is going to be split up. Now the attention is going to be split up. Now he has to share everything he's known for almost 2.5 years is being flipped on its head because we decided to have another baby. And it really freaked me out and scared me. But my son has been fantastic. The last question is, how does your toddler behave with the baby sister? He loves her so much. He's protective of her. He's possessive a little bit sometimes of her, I'll be honest. When my wife brings both of them to drop my son off for daycare, she'll bring the baby in the car seat, and all the other kids gather around and go, "Oh, the baby! Oh, a baby!" And my son goes, "No, that's my baby. That's my baby," which is very funny. He's protective of her. He loves her so much. Of course, he has jealous moments. Every time that she grabs a toy that's his, that he hasn't used in 2 years, all of a sudden it's his favorite toy, which is incredibly normal. But he's been fantastic with her. Whenever he has TV on in the background, maybe if my daughter glances at the TV, he goes, no, baby, no TV for you, which is very funny. So he's a fantastic big brother, and he better enjoy this time now that she's smaller than him, because eventually, like I said, by Christmas, she's going to be able to whoop his ass. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for submitting the questions. This was a fun one. We got to discuss a lot of topics. So once again, follow me on Instagram at heated_seats. Podcast can be found on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. I am at Champagne Tyler on TikTok, at Champagne Tyler on Cameo. I will do custom videos for you. The holidays and fall season are coming up. If you want me to give Thanksgiving wishes, if you want me to tell someone you hate, like a strongly worded message that you're too cowardly to send to them, I will do it in exchange for money. But again, thank you so much for listening, downloading. I really appreciate it. It's fun to talk to you guys in this format. As always, if you are struggling with postpartum anxiety or depression or anything in between, hope you're getting the support and the love that you need. And I hope you have a great day. Drink some water. Charge your damn phones.